In order to reach your destination, you need to know the best possible route. A GPS provides not only the best possible route, but also the alternative routes. Previous published research is like the GPS that will guide you on your academic journey. But finding the right literature is not as simple as fixing your location and tapping it on a GPS. It is much more complex than that. Let's say you are going on a long and rigorous journey in an uncharted path. You need to know various factors. Maybe you need to understand the terrain. You need to know the environmental factors. Maybe how people have reached their destination before in the same path. So you need to study a lot of factors. In the same way, you need to tap the right resources to know what has happened in that literature. So identifying the right literature is pivotal. So in this video, let me explain the various strategies associated with identifying the right literature for your research. So the step one is to understand the purpose. What is the purpose? So the primary purpose is to identify the gaps that merits further investigation. And maybe you want to know the debates and the key arguments in the field. Also to challenge existing notions or to develop an idea further. Sometimes the purpose could be to expand a particular theory or to deconstruct what has already been said, because every construct is meant to be challenged. So understand the purpose of your literary search. So primarily the purpose is to find out what is already known. When you know what is already known, that is the first step to further explore what is unknown. So primarily we do a literature review to identify gaps that merit further investigation. So that's the first step. So know the purpose. It may look quite simple, but that's the primary step. And after that, move on to a broad area, then narrow down and dig deeper. So my tip 2 is to just dig deeper. Step 2, just dig deeper into the area. So let me explain very clearly what I mean by digging deeper. See, initially you may choose a broad area. For example, if you are doing research in literature, and let's say you have working on poems. Your topic is imagery in American poems. Is it researchable? It's quite exhaustive. What is the period? How do you look at the patterns of imagery in all the American poems? So it's not researchable, it's too broad. Maybe you just want to narrow down to one particular author. So you zero down your topic, imagery in the poems of Robert Frost. This is also broad, but again it's a huge collection of poems, Robert Frost. So this is also difficult to research. Maybe you have zeroed in, but still it is broad. So initially every researcher will be broad. So you can be broad. Then you can narrow down. Maybe your topic could be imagery in the select poems of Robert Frost. You take a few poems and on a period, there you analyze the imagery in the poems. So this is what I mean by from broad to narrow. But you have to make sure that it is not too narrow, because if it's too narrow, it will not be researchable. For instance, let's say visual imagery or kinesthetic imagery in the poems of Robert Frost. It will not be researchable because you may not find sufficient literature to support what you see, only on visual or kinesthetic imagery. So, second tip is start with something broad, narrow it down and dig deeper. Ensure that there is sufficient literature to expound further, because you need a base, and the base starts from earlier literature. So that's what I mean by, digging deeper. See, the next tip is use concept mapping to identify key areas of literary research. So the concept mapping and mind mapping is an effective strategy to exactly focus what you want to search. In fact, there are a lot of free concept mapping tools available online. For instance, Arizona State Library has a wonderful concept mapping tool for researchers. I'll just leave a link of that in the description box. See, concept mapping helps you to exactly zero in your areas for literary research. For example, let's say you want to research on online immersion programs in adult education, a mixed method study. Let's say this is your tentative topic. So you open that concept mapping online tool. It just gives you bubbles, and in the first bubble you enter your tentative topic. As I said, online immersion programs in adult education, a mixed method study. So whatever is your tentative topic, you will enter the tentative topic. So after you give next, another bubble will pop up. In that you will give a research question based on your topic. What effect does online immersion program have on the speaking performance of the learners? Perhaps that could be a research question. So if you give next, another bubble will open. There give another research question. What effect does online learning have on the audience engagement? And next, it will ask you for another research question. What effect does online immersion have on the confidence level? Similarly, you just go for next. What effect does online immersion program have on the body language? So likewise, if you just give some variables, so you type in a tentative title, some bubbles will pop up. There you type in your research questions. So you will, based on your title. So for every research question, another bubble will pop up where you have to type in your keywords. For instance, if your research question is, how does online immersion program help in speaking performance? If that is your research question, then your keywords could be online learning, immersion programs, assessing speaking, like that, speaking performance, like that. Or if your research question is, how does online immersion program help in audience engagement? Then the another bubble, in that bubble you will type online engagement. So now you have tentative title, you have tentative research questions, and for each research questions you will have keywords. Now you will have a focused mind mapping tool. Now use the keywords, pick the keywords from the mind mapping tool, put it in Google Scholar or in any library database and search. You will find literature exclusively pertaining to your research topic and research question. This is actually an effective strategy to search for literature in the initial stages, especially when you are gathering data. So this concept mapping and mind mapping is a wonderful tool to identify suitable literature. My tip 4 is use specific terminologies to locate information. For example, the term adult education in Google Scholar will result in 16,300,000 results. If you still narrow down the term and type immersion programs in adult education, you get nearly 6,49,000 results. Quite staggering, isn't it? How do you locate the proper information? If you still are quite specific, for example, immersion programs for achieving learning outcomes in adult education, it results and say about 6,000 results. So the more specific your terms are, the narrower the results are, so that you can quite easily locate the right information. So don't use broader key terms, use narrower and specific terms related to your research. So this is quite an important tip. That is, you need to use specific terminologies to locate proper information. My tip 5 is know when to stop. Know when to stop your review. See, when I was a PhD student, I didn't know when to stop my literature review. It just went on and on. I believe that this is the biggest mistake that most of the scholars do. Once you find sufficient literature pertaining to your research questions, you should stop and start building on the other sections based on what you found. However, you can keep refreshing it through the course of your research. You can keep updating it. So you should know when to stop. That's the most important thing you should know as a scholar. And next thing is, tip 6 is, know where to find your literature. Where to find your literature, be very specific. For instance, Academic Search Complete is a one-stop solution for all researchers. If your university has subscribed for it, or else you can go for good search engines like Clarivate Analytics, that is the Web of Science, or Scopus database, or the Google Scholar, the EBSCO host. So you can search in those library databases and check the abstracting services in your domain. But books and journals are the key sources. Recent journals pertaining to your domain is where you find specific information, is where you find recent literature to know what's recently happening in your field. Of course, books are also treasure troves for you to find the right information. And you may also look for conference papers and published dissertations in your field. So you should know where to search for literature related to your field. Identify the areas where you will find the databases, where you will find the right sources. Tip 7 is how to identify relevant information. Having identified the key journals in your field, the key research papers pertaining to your area, look at the reference sections of such publications. You will find a lot of related papers which can save a lot of your time. So look at these reference sections, and from that reference sections you glean the information and search, so that your search will be more refined and appropriate. And next thing is also look for recent publications in your area, publications that are recent. Search in reverse chronology, because every database, if you take Google Scholar, you can specify the search from 2020, or you can give a period 2015 to 2020. So refine your search in a reverse chronology from the recent, and also know who are the highly renowned authors, the seminal publications in your field, the best-selling books in your industry. See, these are the places where you find the right information, or the recent information related to your field. Also look for, whenever you search for journals, every journal section has a segment in their homepage called the most downloaded papers and the award-winning papers, or the highly cited papers. LCA, all journals have this in their homepage. So that's the first thing I do. If I find highly cited papers in my area, I just go for that first and see what makes that paper highly cited. And I look at the reference section of that papers. So look for highly cited papers, or the award-winning papers, or going and visit the most downloaded sections. You will find a lot of appropriate information. information that you are exactly looking for. So if you want to be a successful researcher, the first thing you need to do is to know your field, know the literature thoroughly, be up to date with the literature, and continue refreshing your literature throughout your journey. Recenter it, refocus as you march on towards your destination. This strategic way of data collection will definitely increase the probability of your success. I hope that this video has helped you to understand the canons of literature. So whatever I have told you in this talk, I have crystallized the essence of it in the form of the checklist. So I leave the checklist also in the description box. It will be immensely helpful for you whenever you make the literary search.